Welcome to the Black Girls Heal podcast, where we talk about changing unavailable relationship patterns, healing unresolved trauma, and building a healthy relationship with first you and then others. Every episode, we will talk about actionable advice that you can apply today to break unhealthy patterns and grow your self-worth. I'm Sheena Tubbs. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Black Girls Heal. It is the new year. We are fully in 2020. So many of us are excited. So many of us are like, it's just a different day or another year. There's not really anything significant, but I truly feel that you give power to whatever you believe in. So if you feel like this is an opportunity for you to have a reset, if you feel like this is an opportunity for you to start over, I want you to seize it. If you have been feeling stuck, if you've been feeling as if you want something to change and you don't really know how to make it happen, I want to encourage you to change your mindset, to take ownership of the power that you've always had to make today different than yesterday. And that can start with you believing that there is something different, that you are allowing your next level version of you or your best version of you to step forward. And the way that you help yourself not play it safe anymore, the way that you help yourself step into who you truly are is not by you trying harder. I think it is very easy for us to hear that kind of challenge to say, believe better, believe stronger, and kind of translate that to do more and try harder and willpower. And that's not at all what you need to do, right? The reasons why it has been harder for you to fulfill the New Year's resolutions, to change your mindset, to act on the things that are your true desires and wishes is because there's been a block. And that block is most likely something that needs to be healed. Some form of unresolved trauma, some way that you're looking at yourself that is not healthy or devalues you. And so you looking in the mirror, telling yourself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself as an affirmation. Yes, that can move the needle a little bit, but it's not until you get underneath that and see, why is it that it's hard for me to love myself? Where did this start? What do I put here instead? Right? It's kind of like when we talk about stopping addictions, I think one of the worst things that we can do for people who are struggling with an addiction is just tell them to just stop it, right? If it was easy enough to stop it, then you would have done it already. Your addictions, the things that you're doing, they're there for a reason. They are there to help you cope. They are there to help you self-medicate. Now, whether or not it's actually helping or hurting at this point, that's for you to decide, right? Probably hurting if we're calling it an addiction, right? If it's impacting your functioning, your ability to show up in relationships, show up in your confidence, show up in your self-esteem. But stopping it isn't enough. You have to replace it with something else. And so it is up to you to decide how you want to replace it. So one of the ways that I want to talk about in this episode to help you change your patterns is to talk about your ability to change your mind. One of the things that I hear often in my conversations with my clients, the women that I coach, is kind of this guilt around feeling like they can change their mind. So kind of like, I have done something this one way this whole time. What are people going to think about me if I change it? I already told them, yes, I would do it. I can't go back and renege on it. And it all kind of comes from this kind of who do I think I am type of energy, right? So it's not really you're being worried about who do other people think that you are and them thinking that you're braggadocious or getting too big for your britches or acting like too much. It's really more that you believe that you're those things, that you're afraid of being too big, too much, too loud. And that all comes from that internal wound of feeling like your opinions, your wants, your desires don't really matter. They're not as important as what other people want and what other people think. and almost as if you have to get permission from other people to do what you really want to do. And so today's podcast is very simply, I want you to know that you can change your mind at any time. So I remember that I was part of this organization that I had really felt like it was time for me to leave. Nothing bad was happening. It was just that I had that internal nudge that there was something different for me out there. There was actually something else that I wanted to do that organization was taking up time and space for. And so I went around and around for a while, and I was like, can I do that? What will people think? I kind of had an important position when it came to this organization. So I felt a lot of guilt. Like I can't leave people behind. Well, they think I'm selfish, all of that. And then there was a organization-wide announcement given that was like, if anyone needs to transition, then it's okay. Wherever you think you are, whatever you think you need to do, you need to feel free to do it. And two things got in the way of me actually hearing that as my sign to move forward. One, part of my trauma, or part of the manifestation of my trauma, was that I had to be the one to fix and be everyone's everything. So I had this false sense of ego that if I left, that nothing would go right, which feels very silly and a little embarrassing to say, but hey, that's where I was, right? You learn by growing. And so the way that might look like for some of you other people who may have been very parentified as children, if you don't know what that term means, it means that you were kind of given the responsibilities of being a parent early on in your family household. So that way so even now as an adult, you may take on more responsibility than you need to for other people and things that have nothing to do with you. But because as a young child, you had more weight on your shoulders than you needed to. Now as an adult, you do the same thing, right? So that was the first thing. And the second way that my trauma manifested was feeling like I wasn't able to change my mind. I wasn't able to say, hey, this is what I want to do. It's almost like I needed someone's specific permission to say, hey, Sheena, I think that this is what you should be doing. And for them to send me off versus me saying and getting in touch with what it was that I wanted, what I needed. So I don't know who this message is for today, but I don't know when you're listening to it. You could be listening to it right here at the beginning of the year when everyone's trying to change your life and there's still something that you're like, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm allowed to. What will other people think? Is that really my intuition? Is that really me? Maybe when you wrote down your resolutions, you only wrote down 80% of what you actually wanted to write down and you left out another 20%. Maybe you're listening to this later on in the year or in a future date and you are in this same situation. There's a change that you want to make. You want to leave an organization. You want to leave a relationship. You want to change the ways the rules work in a relationship that you have that's non-romantic, like family or friends or whatever it is. And I just want you to know that you can change your mind. You can say that the things that used to work for me before, no longer work. If you come into, and for whatever reason, I think that language makes me think of careers. If you come into an organization and you agree to something, you're like, you know what, this doesn't work for me anymore. You're not tied to that place. You can make the path that you want. And I'm not telling anybody to quit. I'm telling people that you can communicate to the people who need to be communicated to and tell them what you need. It doesn't matter if you are the cashier at the local grocery store, if you are the manager, if you're in the C-suite and you're gunning for a position, or you've been kind of trying to bide your time for a certain position, you can make your needs known. If you've been kind of hanging back in your friend group and letting other people make the decisions of where y'all go out to hang out and what you eat and who are all the people who are invited over places, and you're tired of being kind of the follower, you can say, hey, this isn't working for me anymore. This is what I want. I don't want Chinese food. I want Mexican. Actually, I do mind if you invite your boyfriend. We never get to hang out anymore. Can we have girl time? You can speak up and say what you need to say, even if your whole relationship has been a certain way. I know that's hard. I know for some people you may hear this and be like, yes, that's exactly what I needed. And you'll go out and do that. And it may be hard to hold on to that feeling. And that is because, kind of like what I was saying, I needed someone to specifically say, Sheena, this is your situation. This is your sign. You have permission to go and do it. And even though if someone were to go back in time and to do that for me, it would have been great. And I wouldn't have missed out on that opportunity, because I actually ended up staying in that organization for longer than I needed to. And it just, things didn't end the way that I would have wanted it to. Nothing bad, nothing explosive, but I just felt like where I was being called to move to would have been really powerful and healing for me. But I stayed where I was. And what I want for you is to not waste any more time. So to finish what I was saying, if someone were to go back in time and tell me, hey, Sheena, you have permission to make this decision, it would have been great, but it wouldn't have taught me how to tap into that part of myself in the future. It wouldn't have helped me get over those fears on how to have my voice in any and all situation and figure out what is it that I want, what's stopping me from speaking up, what are the skills that I need, who can support me, how do I support myself, how do I heal that part of me that stops me from being bold and being honest, right? Because when we're not honest with what we need and what we are desiring, it's not even just that we're lying to other people by omission, by omitting that truth. We're lying to ourselves. And then we're stuck in this pattern of wondering, okay, why am I feeling kind of ho-hum? Why am I feeling unsettled? Why am I feeling incomplete? Well, it's because you're not being honest with yourself, right? So this thing that I'm talking about, this equipping you, helping you heal, helping you save time to where you're not constantly kind of looking for the right answer. That's what I teach my ladies in our Learn to Thrive program. So in case you don't know, that is the way that I coach ladies. Those clients that I talked about. In this coaching program, I literally teach women how to get in touch with what it is that you want and what you need, how to show up and find your voice in all relationships, including your relationship with yourself, right? Because we are the ones that hold ourselves back. And to watch how the women that I serve have grown and flourished is incredible. And you're actually going to hear from some of them more often this year, so that you can have the receipts, and it's not just me telling you, hey, I promise that you'll learn to thrive, that you can actually hear from the women who have made the investment in their time and their money and themselves to go forward. For those of you who are ready to stop waiting for other people to give you permission, right? I want you to go out, tell your friend what you want to happen when you stop listening to this podcast. I want you to go and let your voice be known. I want you to tell your daddy, I love you, and this is what I need to be different. I want you to go back to your church and say, hey, I know I committed to this ministry for this year, but I'm about 5 steps away from being broken down and emotionally depleted. So I have to renege on that. I love you. I love Jesus, but I can't do it. I need you to know that you can change your mind and go and do that thing right now. And then after that, if you want to know how to be equipped to be able to tap in that forever because you're tired of needing someone or something outside of you to get over that hump, I want you to join our Learn to Thrive program. I want you to make some time to chat with me about how to move forward, about how to make that change. You can go to learntothrivecourse.com and scroll down, go to book a call. Let's talk about how to get that transformation that actually sticks. And we'll talk about what's going on with you. We'll talk about getting you set up and helping you get your voice back. So that's it for this episode. I look forward to hearing about all the changes and decisions that you're making, and I'll see you next week.